Hey everybody, welcome into the back room. I'm Andy Ostroy. We have Rick Wilson back with us today. We'll chat with Rick in just a second, but first, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you listening, and we'd love to hear your comments. So email us at backroomandy@gmail.com and or post on our social media, and we'll read some feedback next time. And if you like the podcast, please rate and review and follow or subscribe, and you'll be notified every time we post a new episode. So Rick Wilson is the co-founder and board member of the Lincoln Project, and a renowned political strategist, infamous award-winning ad maker, and podcast host, writer, speaker, and political commentator on MSNBC, CNN, ABC News, NPR, Real Time with Bill Maher, and various American and international news outlets. A 30-year veteran of national Republican politics, Rick got his start in the 1988 presidential campaign of George Herbert Walker Bush, and has produced groundbreaking and award-winning political advertising, strategic counsel to winning political candidates, SuperPACS, state parties, the national campaign committees, and corporate, association, and government clients across the nation and around the world. Rick has authored 2 New York Times bestsellers, Everything Trump Touches Dies, and Running Against the Devil, a plot to save America from Trump and Democrats from themselves. And often writes for the Washington Post, Politico, Rolling Stone, The Hill, The Bulwark, and the London Spectator. Rick, welcome back in the back room.
Andy, great to be with you, my friend, as always.
So we have these small, mostly peaceful protests out in L.A. Mm-hmm. Trump decided he needs to bring in the cavalry.
Wait, I was told that Los Angeles was burned to the ground, that dead cops were stacked like cordwood, and that George Soros was personally shoveling AK-47s out of the back of a helicopter to the rioters.
Well, that would have happened. That would have happened if Donald Trump did not send in the National Guard to stand in a circle around a building. Because they're so good. The Guard is so good that just standing in that circle, they stopped L.A. from burning down.
What kind of world will we live in without this president of ours?
Yeah. So he federalized the National Guard without the request or consent of Governor Gavin Newsome, and then he sent 700 U.S. Marines. What's your take on everything going down out there?
Look, Andy, I've written a little bit about this in the last few days. The fact that this president deployed active duty military forces against American citizens is to my mind a Rubicon that you can't easily uncross. It is a political and presidential decision that I think will go down in the history of this country as an absolute abomination. This is not what we do in America, and I know that Trump fans are sort of giggling about this whole thing. They love it. And what Trump really wants, and we have to be very honest about this, he wants someone to throw a rock or to, God forbid, take out a gun or throw a brick and shoot a cop or shoot a police officer in the streets of LA so that he can go completely out of control and so that he can order those troops to open fire. And people are like, oh no, Wilson, that's too much. How dare you say that? This is what he wants. He is looking for the moment. He is looking for his Reichstag fire. He is looking to catalyze a structure of permission for himself and his supporters to say, we are at war. And in war, our troops kill the bad guys. And these are the bad guys. This is not, an optional formation anymore for American patriots. You have to know that you are in a world where the president believes the military can shoot you if you were on the streets of this country protesting what he doesn't like. And I think we're going to have to reckon with this one, Andy, for a long time. I'm very uncomfortable with where we are as a country at this moment.
Well, let's play that out for a second. What happens in the event he goes off the rails? There's still hopefully some sanity in the military. Would that be considered an illegal order?
This was already an illegal order, by the way.
Yes, and the courts are trying to deal with that. Hopefully, I mean, today there's a hearing on that, and hopefully there'll be something constructive coming out of that. But when you have the Los Angeles police, the county police, the California Highway Patrol, state police, all on the front lines, and so far doing the right job out in LA.
Sure.
I mean, even in your worst case scenario, if somebody gets shot, a cop gets, or somebody gets, that's still stuff that is handled by local, county, and state police. So
we hope
hard.
so. We hope
Yeah.
so.
I mean,
So.
I share your concerns, but I really wonder what happens in that scenario if he then is contained on some level, if the generals say,
Look,
we can't do that, sir.
My worry about the generals is this week at Fort Bragg, Donald Trump went before a large group of military personnel, a large group of young soldiers, and these are kids, by the way. These are not experienced, deeply, wired down officers who've sworn a complicated oath to uphold the Constitution. These are children. These are not people who have a lot of experience in this world. But they brought in a truck to sell merchandise, and they brought in these people who were placed there based on were they loyal to Trump, and did they look good? And at no point in that operation should any officer have said, "Oh, I'm going to let my troops go out there and be props for Donald Trump while he bashes the media and bashes Joe Biden at a military base in front of and using as a prop hundreds of soldiers." That was a red line, and there's no general officer who should have for a moment said, "Hey, this is okay with me. This is fine with me." It is so beyond the pale, so beyond the level of unacceptable. As someone who values the relationship that this country has always had with its military, which is that the military is subordinate to civilian control and it avoids politics like the plague. Well, we're not doing that anymore, apparently. And I think I think we will regret this. I think we will find this to be a moment that this country looks back on and says, yeah, that was not a great idea, Chief.
Well, you mentioned Rubicon crossing before. Trump has actually suggested Newsome should be arrested. Speaker Mike Johnson, who is next in line for the presidency after VP J.D. Vance, said Newsome should be, quote, tarred and feathered. It just seems like it's a gross understatement to say we're in uncharted territory here, doesn't it?
Oh, we're uncharted territory is way in the rearview mirror. We are in a political moment that no nation wants to find itself in. It is where we are slipping into authoritarianism, and it's not that we're slipping into it because we don't know. We know. It's just that there's no one left inside of government who is willing to say, this is a line beyond which I will not go. And that includes a lot of these general officers in the military right now. You've got a lot of loyalists who've been or generals who've been replaced with Trump loyalists in the Pentagon, and they are largely staying on the Trump agenda. And I think this is really dangerous for this country. And I think that we will look back on this moment and say, wow, I sure wish the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff had all said, motherfucker, if you keep this up, we will all quit. Replace us. Motherfucker, if you keep doing this, we will walk out that door. And they're not going to do that. They're not.
Are we in a constitutional crisis?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We're a little bit past the constitutional crisis at this point. We're dating the constitutional crisis, and we've probably moved in together.
Hopefully it doesn't work out.
Right?
I'm going to ask you to put your operative hat on for a second. From a purely political standpoint, who's winning here? Is it Trump? Is it Gavin Newsome? Democrats? Is this Newsome's moment, and is he rising to it? If so,
he is rising to the moment. I don't know if this is the moment where Gavin Newsome becomes the presumptive Democratic nominee going forward, but it certainly hadn't hurt him. I think he has been handling Trump on the terms of engagement that are tough for Trump to look away from. Newsome is handling him in the social media space better than anyone could have expected. And
Mhm.
I admire how Newsom has handled them. I think, and I'm not a Gavin Newsom fanboy, but I think Newsom has done very, very well here. Yeah, I like him. I like him. Let me say that.
Are you just jealous of his amazing hair?
Fuck yeah, dude. That hair is spectacular.
I know, me too.
Look, I still think we need a Democrat. People are like, who's going to emerge? Where is the Democratic leader of the future? I think we need a Democrat who is willing to go out and say, when I am president, every person that was engaged in this unconstitutional, treasonous activity, every person who tried to monetize this government for a grift or for a scam or for their own aggrandizement is going to be facing prosecution. Every single one. And right now, it's really hard for Democrats to even sort of say the words like, oh no, we're gonna hold people to account. They're so afraid of their own shadows most of the time. And
Sure.
a lot of them are looking over their left shoulder here. Honest answer. Which I there are a lot of Democrats who keep falling into that trap of saying, well, none of this is about immigration at all, and there's no issue at all there. Well, there is an issue there. There are problems there that we have to be honest about facing. But it's not the problem of the woman who is working as a housekeeper in San Bernardino. It's not the problem of the high school volleyball player who gets snatched up by ICE. It's not the problem of people here on TPS status from either Afghanistan or Venezuela or Cuba. It is the problem that we as a country are so irresponsible and so shitty that we're willing to have these people here, but we're not willing to work out a system where they can be here legally over time, a work program system, whatever you want to call it. And all of it, to my mind, is this dumb, single issue voter thing in a minority of white Republicans who absolutely think that every one of these aliens or every one of these immigrants is a Trendiagua sleeper agent or a cat-eating Haitian, whatever. And it's all because they live in this curated alternate reality. And it's tough to get people to stop looking at the world that way.
But do you think we're hitting a point soon where MAGA-owned businesses, hotels and motels, restaurants, construction, farms, landscaping, like these MAGA dudes are going to be like, hey, I can't run my business because you're rounding up all my really good workers. And maybe that's the point where they start to see these people as humans, as workers, as valuable instead of Trendiagua or MS-13 or whatever Trump has filled their heads with. Do you think we're getting close to or maybe at that point now? Because these people are afraid to go to work. I think we are
getting into that zone now. I don't think we're quite there yet. I would say that much of the lurid descriptions of immigrants here in this country that have come from the right have been, they're a very useful political tool because they scare old white people. Mm-hmm. And as long as it's a useful political tool, a lot of these MAGA guys are going to play along and stay in the MAGA universe because there's a very powerful set of normative forces inside of the MAGA world to scare people, to keep them aligned with what Rupert Murdoch and Lachlan Murdoch want them to think. And what they want those people to think is, all these aliens are coming to kill you and eat your cats and rape your women and do this. And it's a really unfortunate world we live in that there's no political courage in the Republican Party to go back to the before times of. We were in 2014 on the cusp of passing an actual a bipartisan immigration bill that had Republicans and Democrats behind it, including Marco Rubio, who was a champion of it, that would have done work status, that would have done path to citizenship, that would have taken care of a lot of these problems that make people end up being here illegally. But because people like Steve Bannon and Stephen Miller were, even before Trump, very influential voices in the political space, that never happened. And now that sort of bill is an absolute impossibility. There's no world in which that happens.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we're getting to a point where a lot of these folks start to see people as Jose, the guy who washes my dishes, who is now underground and not coming to work because he's scared shitless, and he's a good guy with a good family, and this is crazy.
I will say this: there is in the agricultural space out west in Texas and in Florida, three of our biggest ag states where migrant labor plays a part, where people are realizing, and there's a big grower in Central Florida. He's plowing under 4,000 acres of tomatoes this week. Why? Because he can't get people to harvest them. In our family,
I think that's where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah.
You know?
Our family is in ag. Parts of our family are in ag, and there are not people, and they're anticipating that by the fall we won't have people to pick citrus.
Mm-hmm.
They won't be there. They're not going to be there. We won't have there won't be the warm bodies necessary to do this work, and we'll regret it because it's stupid. And people will go to the store and say, "Wow, why are my prices so much higher?" And and Donald Trump will have no one to blame but himself.
Yep. Mm-hmm. In our last few minutes, let's switch to another train wreck: the Trump Musk bromance coming to an end.
So sad.
Your mantra and the title of your book is "Everything Trump Touches Dies."
Yep.
Has Musk fallen prey to that inevitability?
He has. He just doesn't realize it yet. There is a dumb consistency to people who Trump lures in, and they believe somehow that they're the exception to the rule, that they're the one who won't fall victim to it, that somehow they can come back and they'll get his love again, and the world will be beautiful. This ain't that guy. Trump has four things that drive him. He loves money. He loves attention. He used to love sex. I don't know if he does anymore as much. It's sort of like, old guy thing now, I guess. But the other thing he loves is humiliating people who want back into his good graces. He adores that. That is a joy for him like few others. And we're going to see, in my view, a very ugly reality for Elon, that this guy hates him and he's not going to get what he wants. And Trump may tease it. By the way, Trump may say like, "Oh, we should make up. It's too stupid. It's stupid for us to be enemies." But that's not real talk. That's a lure. That's a bait. And if Elon takes that bait, he is dumber than he looks.
Well, Musk essentially called him a pedophile and a sex trafficker. And I would imagine that's hard for Trump to come back from.
Worse, he said that Trump wouldn't be president if it wasn't for him. And Trump, that for Trump, by the way, is a greater sin than calling him a pedophile.
Yeah. So twisted.
Which is just like absolutely effed up beyond all recognition.
And real quick, you did an open letter or an open video this week with a couple of what I thought were really good suggestions for Musk. I'll talk about that for a minute.
Look, Elon has more power in this equation than he thinks he does.
Mm-hmm.
And if I was Elon, I would use my power of controlling Twitter, which is one of the most essential normative forces inside the MAGA GOP. I would use that power to change the algorithm on Twitter. This isn't hard stuff. This is pretty easy. Change the algorithm, knock Trump's coalition apart, make his coalition favor the big beautiful or oppose the big beautiful bill. And Musk has that ability algorithmically and persuasively to use Twitter as a weapon against the guy for whom Twitter is the most powerful tool. That's my number one recommendation.
Right. Then you had another one.
It's also that, Elon can make himself into a much better, powerful figure. Oh, I mean, look, I had a personal recommendation for Elon because, at this point in my life, I've seen too many smart guys and too many friends get completely sideways with drugs and alcohol. And after a point in your 50s, you got to back that shit down. You got to spend that time and not burn your life up on fucking ketamine. What a stupid thing to squander several $1 billion of equity on.
And you also suggested starting an independent party, but just on a very localized level in some swing states. Where
look, if he wanted to start the America Party in a few states, Elon could really reshape American politics. If you go into a few places and do it down the ballot, you don't start with the presidency. That's the mistake all third-party people make. You don't start with the presidency. You start down the ballot. You go down the ballot and you find a couple places where you can pick up a few state Senate seats, state House seats. You start to develop something much more powerful than just a regular super PAC. And he's got the infinite amount of money it takes to execute on something like that.
Yeah. Good stuff.
All right,
Rick,
my
thanks
friend.
for coming on. Talk soon.
Pleasure as always. See ya.
Take care. This episode of The Back Room was edited and produced by me, Andy Ostroy. It was co-edited and co-produced by Maddie Rosenberg and co-produced by Jen Hammoud. Our theme song was composed by Andrew Hollander, and our logo was designed by Cricket Langell. And special thanks to Patricia Wind. Please take a moment to rate and review the podcast, and also follow or subscribe. Until next time, keep your eyes on Washington, Hollywood, and your own backyards, and have a great week.